back with our continuing coverage of the 130th Supreme Convention of the Knights of Columbus here in Anaheim, California. Sunny Anaheim, California, and we are so privileged to have with us the Supreme Knight of the Knights of Columbus, Carl Anderson, with us. Thank you so much for being here.
No, great. Thank you
very much.
Hey, it's always a privilege to have you here, and it's always a privilege to listen to the report that you have at the business session, and it amazes me, and I know Father Reed, we talked about this too, about how many initiatives, how many things are going on with the Knights. But maybe if you could start off by talking about that. There was growth. It seems like there's growth every year, but talk about this past year and how things have sort of progressed, and there are new membership, places like Mexico where you're seeing increases there, and maybe just an overview of that.
Well, great. We've had good membership growth throughout the order. What I think I'm most proud about is the fact that charity, our charitable work, has grown very well this year too. So last year we donated $158 million to charity and did 70 million hours of volunteer service. And what's really interesting about that as well is if you put a dollar amount on that, it multiplies that in a tremendous way. So we feel very good that our Knights are stepping up, especially in economic times where we know a lot of people are hurting, and it's good to reach out and help your neighbor.
On a less than positive note, what seems to be on the decrease is civility in our discourse across the country and beyond. And you have the Knights have a very interesting project, online poll, civilityinamerica.org. Could you tell us about that?
Well, for a number of years we've been doing polling. We call it our Moral Compass project, trying to see American values. Where is the country headed? What do most people think is important in terms of values? We did some polling just a little while ago about the whole question of civility, discussion, elections, and found that, like 8 in 10 Americans are very frustrated today about the lack of civility in our public discourse. 2/3 of Americans think it's getting worse and it's hurting the country. And so as a result of that, we decided, well, maybe there's something we can do, give people a voice and start publicizing the fact that, look, it's not just what most people think, right? You and I don't like it. It's the whole country that basically is tired of it. And if we can give people an opportunity to express that and maybe publicize it a little bit more, maybe we can get the attention of some people in Washington, and maybe it'll stop, at least get better.
And it'd be great to see that there are positive aspects with positive campaigning as well, because I think people get into the campaign, they might be down, and they feel like the negative aspect is going to start bringing people in, the negative campaigning. So,
yeah, I think part of it is it's kind of two dimensions. I think there's the one dimension that if you think back a few decades ago, people sort of understood always going to have Republicans, always going to have Democrats, so let's see if we can't figure out how to reach an agreement, right?
Yeah.
Now it's more like maybe we can just, with this politics of personal destruction, we'll get rid of the other party, then we can have everything our way. Get rid of the other candidate, we have everything our way. I was listening just a week or so ago, there's some political analysts talking about a race, and saying, well, this candidate's negatives are really high among the voters. So what he's got to do is raise the negatives for his opponent, right? It's not talking about the issues.
Yeah.
But another problem with that is if somebody gets elected and his negatives are really high, he has an awfully difficult time governing. And so it's sort of a vicious circle that is defeating, may win you the election, but it doesn't help the country govern and get solutions to the problems that need solutions, right? So that's the difficulty, seems to me.
Last year at this time we were in Denver, taken back a little bit by the announcement of the purchase of the John Paul II Cultural Center, soon to be the largest shrine to Blessed John Paul II in the Western Hemisphere. How is that coming along in Washington?
Well, it's going great. First, we have a lot of artifacts of the Holy Father, but what we also wanted to do was be able to capture his vision, pastorally, theologically. What was it about him in terms of the way he related and expressed the Christian life that caused people to think, well, John Paul the Great, the John Paul II generation. And so this is a shrine. So we want pilgrims who come to the shrine to go through the museum and get a sense of this spiritual dynamic, intellectual dynamic. I think what a great blessing for us in Blessed John Paul II. Here's an example of how to live the Catholic life in our century. How do we follow him as a saint? I follow him as a pope. We read his encyclicals, look at the history. But what does it mean now that he's a saint? How does he change lives from that standpoint? And so that's what the shrine and the museum is about. And I think we're making good progress. I hope maybe next year, not too late in the year, will be open, the museum and the shrine.
Oh,
and
great.
I think we'll get a lot of people coming.
We had a chance to talk to a couple of people about the great celebration that took place over this past weekend, but maybe if you could speak on the celebration of Our Lady of Guadalupe and the LA Coliseum and how that's grown from the start in Phoenix, Arizona, and it continues to build every year.
Well, we did this when we met in Phoenix several years ago. Had about 22,000 people at this celebration. And so we decided to come into Los Angeles, Anaheim. This would be a great opportunity to do this again. So we had over 60,000 people participate. And I think it's an expression of a lot of things. One, the importance of Mary, the importance of Our Lady of Guadalupe in our hemisphere. The fact that the message of the church, the new evangelization, has got to be very much like Our Lady of Guadalupe 500 years ago. Reconciliation, unity, hope, building a new culture. You know, when you think of the new world, it's really a new culture being built, and on Christian terms, on Catholic terms. And so many, many people have a personal devotion to Our Lady of Guadalupe. That's fabulous. But what does it mean for the church, our society, our continent, our hemisphere, if she is the one that kind of leads us to her son?
I have to thank you personally, Mr. Anderson, for your support of us, Catholic TV Network, allowing us to be present here and to bring this event all day today to our 13.2 million viewers. And also, as a brother knight, to thank you for your fine example and witness, your words here to us today, and just the way that you exemplify what it means to be a Catholic man in such a wonderful way. I want to thank you for that.
Oh, well,
honestly.
thank you. Thank you very much. But really, we're going to hear a lot about the new evangelization. One of the important parts is how we deal in the media. Mm-hmm. How do we become part of that environment, that communication environment? So what you're doing is tremendously important, kind of pioneering how we interact and change that whole electronic environment of information, so that it's receptive to the church and people can feel as though, yes, it can reflect Catholic values. So
and
thank
civil.
you. Yeah.
Civil.
Yeah.
In a civil way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Positive way. Thanks so much,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Anderson,
Thank
for
you
being
very
here,
much.
taking the time out. We're going to take a quick break here. We'll be back with more of our continuing coverage of the 130th Supreme Convention of the Knights of Columbus here in Anaheim, California.
Not sunny Anaheim.
Yeah.